I served from 1975 to 2001, and then I got lucky and I got a job on base and worked for another 20 years. It's hard to describe Al Gray. He's a Marine. He interjected, for lack of better words, the warrior profession, being a premium war-fighting organization. He would motivate you when he got up in front. He would get standing ovations. Obviously, he was a CG, the Beirut bombing. He met every Marine that came off the 24 Marine Amphibious Unit ships and shook our hands. A sign of affection for Al Gray was he'd give you that big hit on the shoulder. Some people it surprised them, but others knew that it was a sign of affection. He interjected so many things, PME, professional military education. I had a close call with him, kind of humorous. I was a young staff sergeant, had just joined a rifle company, 1-8 Charlie Company. First sergeant told me that I had to attend a graduation for one of the Marines I had never met yet. He'd been at the squad leaders course. Al Gray was the quote-unquote graduating officer for this course. And one of my Marines had placed second. So he looked out in the audience, and it had already happened to the third place Marine. The second place Marine, it was another staff sergeant. We stood up, and he said, "Where's the company commander and first sergeant, sergeant major, battalion commander?" Well, the two staff sergeants looked up and said, "Sir, we're it." And he smiled and said, "I want to see your chain of command in my office at 1600. I was the person, the boot staff sergeant, had to go back to the company commander, first sergeant, to relay what Al Gray, General Gray did. And the word got around real quick, like that you didn't shirt tail a graduation that General Gray was going to go. I mean, he served as a CG from 1984 to 87, the 2nd Marine. Then he went to the MEF, and then he became the commandant. I'm actually a product of him reintroducing the Marine Gunner program. It was him that wanted that back to the training, weapons proficiency, ammunition. There was a whole new thought process going to the field, warrior skills, things that we probably got a little rusty on, He always wanted to talk to the enlisted Marines. I've literally seen him walk away from company grade, field grade officers. He wanted to talk to squad leaders. He wanted to talk to fire team leaders. He wanted to talk to the privates. I mean, he went from private to the commandant of the Marine Corps, 41 years. And another, issue with General Gray that we all need to understand, look at who's attending his 95th birthday. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that wish they had been invited or could have attended, but the facility can only hold so much. I mean, I have attended numerous Beirut ceremonies over the years. He gets standing ovations every time he shows up. And even after he retired as a commandant, he was a member of so many associations, so many boards. His influence is still going to this day, And, when you look back at coming up through the ranks, and you usually didn't know who, the commanding generals were here or there. You were worried about, a couple of ranks above you and a couple of ranks below you. Not with Al Gray. Everybody knew him. Everybody knew his reputation. He would show up and walk through our areas. He would, shake hands. He was a good listener. And to be honest, he remembered. I'm sure his aides and his staff used to pull their hair out because he'd come back and say, What about this? What about that? I heard we had a problem here. And, you know, obviously, well, you got a problem, we got to find a solution to it. You know, even though he's a quote unquote, you know, small man as far as height, he was 10 feet tall in our eyes. You know, there's so many issues that go back to, you know, after effects of Beirut, the influence he had. I just can't say enough. You know, it's just, he turned us into a premier fighting force. You know, he had influence again when he was up at the MEF, and, you know, some people say, well, a lot of more emphasis went back into the war-fighting establishments, vice the support establishment.
When you think of the Marine Corps, what core values, what do they mean to you? What
Well,
are your core
you know, all those things that we talk about, leadership principles, leadership traits, they, you know, had a gold star next to each one of them when it comes to Al Gray. You know, he displayed that, you know, whether he was in his office, sitting in a chair, being interviewed by some news reporter, you know, he always had the right words. They were pointed. Sometimes they hurt, but they needed to hurt, you know. He used to give it, we referred to it, you know, meetings that we attended, you know, where he was just get up, he'd make it sweet, short, and simple. Mission orders was the thing, you know. He did a lot to get away from the zero defect mentality. He wanted us to make mistakes because that's how we learn, you know. People don't realize that, you know, a good portion of the United States Marine is usually somebody under the age of 25. You know, as you get up in rank, you realize that those young people, it's a people organization. It's all about people. And Gray, you know, made sure that those officers, those staff NCOs, knew that you need to take care of your Marines and your sailors.
For you, though, talk about what out of the Marines core values, what means the most to you? Integrity,
Loyalty, some of those things that we take for granted in everyday life, you know. When you look at the different leadership traits and principles, you know, the comradeship, that's one of the things that's unique about the Jacksonville community. You know, you can't help but run into somebody you served with, or an elderly gentleman wearing a Marine Corps hat, you know, simplify. I travel back and forth to Vermont because that's where I'm from, you know, and you see a vehicle on the interstate, you know, it's got a Marine Corps emblem, you got to blow your horn and holler out simplify.
Do you live here in Jacksonville?
Yes, ma'am.
So what does Jacksonville and Onslow mean as home to the Marines?
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. It's, you know, we're home to Camp Lejeune, New River, Cherry Point, you know, the establishment there and all the accessories that go with it, you know. Like I said, I got lucky after I retired from the wearing the uniform. I got a job on base, so, you know, I was still connected to the Marine Corps in so many ways. I just got to wear civilian clothes, and I didn't have to deploy no more.